This video was written by artificial intelligence based on the following prompt. Welcome to our video on the current state of toxicity and group content in World of Warcraft. We'll be discussing how often players encounter toxicity in the game, the challenges players face when trying to do group content, pros and cons of limiting yourself to solo play, and some possible solutions to these issues. It's no secret that toxicity can be a major issue in online games, and World of Warcraft is no exception. While the frequency of toxicity can vary depending on the server and player base, it's not uncommon for players to encounter toxic behaviour in the game. This can range from verbal abuse to harassment to cheating and exploiting. While some players may brush off toxicity as just part of the game, it can have a serious impact on players' enjoyment and even mental health. But it's important to note that toxicity is not unique to WoW, but is an issue in many online games and, indeed, in life. Group content in World of Warcraft can be a lot of fun, but it can also present a number of challenges for players. One of the biggest challenges is finding a group of players who are skilled, reliable, and easy to work with. This can be especially difficult for players who are new to the game or who are not part of a large guild. Another challenge is dealing with players who are not willing to listen to feedback or who refuse to play their role properly. This can lead to wipes, delays, and frustration for the entire group. While group content can be a lot of fun, there are also benefits to playing World of Warcraft solo. One of the biggest pros is that you can have complete control over your own pace and playstyle. You don't have to worry about coordinating with other players or dealing with toxic behaviour. Another pro is that you can play at your own schedule. You don't have to rely on other players' availability. On the other hand, the cons of solo play include the fact that you miss out on the social aspect of the game and the sense of accomplishment that comes from working with a group to complete difficult content. Additionally, some content can be harder or impossible to complete solo. To combat toxicity in World of Warcraft, players can report toxic behaviour to Blizzard, the game's developer. They also have a strict policy against toxicity and will take action against players who violate the terms of service. Players can also form groups with like-minded individuals, either through the game's built-in group finder or through community groups such as Discord servers. Additionally, players can also limit their exposure to toxicity by staying away from certain areas of the game or avoiding certain types of content. In terms of group content, players can take the time to learn their class and role properly and communicate effectively with their group members. They can also seek out groups that have a positive and friendly attitude and avoid groups that are prone to toxicity or drama. Toxicity and group content can be major issues in World of Warcraft, but there are ways to mitigate these problems and still enjoy the game. By reporting toxic behaviour, forming groups with like-minded players, and limiting your exposure to toxicity, you can have a more positive and enjoyable experience in World of Warcraft. Thanks for watching! So that is ChatGPT, which is OpenAI's publicly accessible artificial intelligence, where you write a question, it's all text-based, write a question and it will generate a unique, hopefully relevant response. What surprised me about this actually was that it's picked up a lot of terminology that's not just from what you would expect, like technical documentation for World of Warcraft. It's also picking up sort of, slang terms, like talking about spec and wipes. So stuff that, is from general communication by the users of the game and not just official documentation, like I said. So I found that really interesting. It kind of makes you wonder where it's getting this information from. Like, is it getting from in-game chat, or is it getting from YouTube videos, where people are talking about all of these frustrations? I've also asked it some other specific questions. I asked it about what are common complaints people have about pugging in World of Warcraft, and I was expecting it initially to say, I don't understand what pugging means, but it immediately went into defining pugging as pickup group, where players group with random individuals in, for dungeons and raids. I was like, what? It's just, it knew exactly what to say. The only limitation of the topic is that the knowledge base finishes in 2021, so you can't ask it any questions about Dragonflight. But it understands the idea of expansions, and it talked about announcements for upcoming expansions, and it said there hasn't been an announcement for an upcoming Dragonflight expansion. This was like I said, in September 2021. So technically it didn't know anything about it, but the fact that it even just immediately recognised from the question the general topic that I was talking about, was able to say, I don't have that information, and where it would go to find that information, official announcements and stuff. It's Skynet. It really is Skynet. I am so ready for Skynet after interacting with this chat GPT. But yeah, I just thought it was a little bit of fun. My initial motivation, shall we say, for creating this video was I was actually going to do like a proper, uniquely handcrafted video about my experiences with WoW. But it boils down to this question that I've asked, which is, I'm having a great time playing Dragonflight solo. As soon as I have to group with other people, I'm finding it really unpleasant. I'm just not having a lot of positive interactions. I do have some, absolutely, across leveling content as well as like Mythic Plus and raid type stuff, but I'm encountering a lot of unfortunate people, and just a general shift in the attitude that players have about it being, it's group content, but it's more about the individual than it is about helping other people. If I'm leveling, I noticed that you get the level 10 scaling. If you've done any leveling in Dragonflight, there's an issue with level 10 scaling. Basically, the mob health doesn't reflect what it is for the higher level players. So when you've got this mixture of, say, level 50s and a level 10, the level 10 is going to be doing, like a million times the DPS of everybody else, no matter what their spec is. So you're finding that level 10, so you have a Mistweaver monk, level 10, just runs the entire dungeon, spinning crane kick, just spamming spinning crane kick, killing all the bosses, and everybody else is just sort of running behind them, slowly picking up loot, not even hitting anything. Literally, that person can solo. So, people who are trying to learn how to tank, they're finding it really difficult to actually tank in the content, because all it takes is one level 10, and that person will just solo everything because they literally cannot die, and they will do way more DPS. It's a bit weird, you can't really tell exactly the numbers, but when I was at one point there was an arcane mage, they were doing, on my details damage meter, it came up as them doing 45k DPS on a single target, and everybody else in the group who were around the same level were doing 200 DPS. So it's that kind of difference. Obviously those numbers aren't specific, but it kind of at least tells you what the gaping chasm is. It's not a small difference in DPS. So I'm really noticing that a lot of people are just blast through the content, forget the fact that I'm grouped with other people. It's not about letting new tanks learn how to tank. It's not about letting new healers learn how to heal. If they can't keep up, they actually get kicked. And I'm just, that coupled with then, if you're doing Mythic Plus content, there's basically whenever an item drops, the first question is, do you need? Instead of giving the person an opportunity to offer an item up, it's just immediately, do you need? And you get multiple whispers from stuff. which can be a little bit confronting, I guess, if you're of a certain wanting to give things to other people kind of personality. You probably aren't going to have a good time in WoW at the moment, because it's very much this sort of the individual über alles, individual above everybody else kind of attitude. So yeah, I don't know, it's maybe I'm getting older and less tolerant of that kind of behavior. Maybe that behavior has always been in the game and I just haven't experienced it to this extent. But love Dragonflight as an expansion, not enjoying the player base at the moment, so I'm kind of a bit torn, because the content that I want to do is actually endgame content. But yeah, so on that note, we've had half an AI written by AI video and half a Hist just randomly rambling about stuff. Apologies if there were any noises through the microphone. I've got like construction happening outside my window right now, so I've got trucks and tractors and cranes and forklifts and all manner of noises going on. So hopefully my good old NVIDIA noise suppression software kicked in a few times and got rid of most of that. I'll put some music in as well, kind of hide as much as I can. But I did feel inclined to put a video out because I felt motivated to do so. But most importantly, welcome to the end of the video. You've lasted 12 minutes for what was initially meant to be a 5-minute video. But I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are, whether you've been playing the expansion or not. Have you sort of experienced positive, majorly positive, mostly positive, I should say, probably is a better word, mostly positive experiences in WoW, or have they been mostly negative? Is it some sort of other split between the two? What's your experience? If you are playing Dragonflight now, how's that going? Are you doing sort of pug content, or are you doing, stuff with guilds? Like, what's the context of your experience is basically what I'm asking. Mainly just so I can have reasons to check the YouTube comments and reply to people and say hello. Because I enjoy doing that. It's one thing doing a video, but I don't feel comfortable sitting here and just dispensing my opinion onto the internet. I do a video like this in the hopes that people are then going to share their opinions with me, and I can actually have a bit of a to and fro, as much of a to and fro you can have on YouTube comments, because they're not great at notifying when people have replied to a comment that I've written. But yeah, anyway, so let me know if you feel so inclined. Otherwise, whatever it is that you're doing, I hope it goes well and that you are taking care of yourself and those around you. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.